My Scranton story, I go back and my father's side is Polish. I found out that my grandfather, I'm actually second generation Polish. So my grandfather came here, was a Polish war veteran, and then came here and worked in the mines. He never left Southside. So they lived on Palm Street, and then married my grandmother, Mrs. Huddy, and lived on Palm Street for the rest of their lives. My mother's side is part of the Osborne family, and my grandmother was one of 10. So there wasn't much of a job. Like my grandmother worked literally right here at the Globe store for 45 years. My grandfather worked on the railroad, so right over here. And my grandmother and my grandfather, so my parents literally lived 2.5 blocks away from each other and met in first grade. Being born in Southside, so I ended up at the 1000 block of Prospect Avenue next to Bishop Skotleski High School. And what I learned from living there was that right down the street, literally 2 doors down, was a funeral home. And then next to that was a bar, and then another bar, and then there was a funeral home. And then the next block was Sacred Hearts Church, but to the right was St. Stanislaus Church. And the end of the other block, of both blocks, was funeral homes on the end of both blocks. And then if you go down the end, down Episcopal Avenue, was a cemetery. And then of course you had your mom and pop stores in between. So the mom and pop store was always big for us because we had our lunches, but we never had cupcakes or a snack. So I would go running. I don't know how many times I ran down that hill to go get cupcakes to make sure that I had them for lunch the next day. And my brothers came with me and stuff. And then, but you were there in that little 3 to 4 block radius, and everything you needed was there. And if you had to go to work, you weren't going far. So there was no reason to move or to go anywhere. Your family was all within a matter of blocks, and they all spoke the same language. So my grandfather spoke Polish. My father spoke Polish till he was probably 8 or 9. And so he was both Polish and both Polish and English, speaking English at the same time. So he'd go to school to speak English, come home, he had to talk Polish to his parents, had to. So it was an interesting life for him. The Irish side of my family is the Osbornes. And I know that we had a reunion back in the 90s, late 90s. And I said, how many of us are here? And they said 400. And I went, oh my God. So the Irish side of my family is very much part of Southside, and moved here in, I think it was the 1880s. I think it was when they came here. Bought the house on the corner of Palm and South Irving, and that house is still in my family. I became a teacher because at Bishop Skotleski, I was the last freshman class, I met David Brennan. And Dave Brennan was as far as I'm concerned, my mentor. And he was a military guy, but he told stories. And he told stories that just sucked you into the subject area. And I was fascinated by the stories he told. And I was like going, this is what you get to do when you're a teacher? I was like, okay, you get to tell stories. So I've loved the stories, and I wanted to go on and teach. And I was like, this is gonna be great. And the one thing I learned was that when I went to college, I wasn't ready. Like I don't know if I should have been there or not. I wasn't ready. And then as I went through the college process, it was like, when I go back to be a teacher, I need to make sure that the students who are coming out of my classroom are ready for the world. And that's been my #1 motivation as a teacher. And so as I was teaching, I was learning about Scranton and all the different areas of Scranton and the different people in Scranton. From that, I saw my classroom change. All of a sudden I'd have, we received a population of kids who we thought were Turkish Russians or something to that effect. They told us they were Russian. They weren't. We found out they were Turkish, but they didn't know because they couldn't read anything. So we worked our way through teaching those students and where they were, showing them on a map and what life was like for them here. And they were teaching us about their community. And next thing you know, we got a group of Nepali students. And next thing you know, we found out the Nepali students weren't from Nepal, they were from Bhutan, and they had been kicked out of there and had been refugees. Right now, there's a group of students who are coming in from the Congo. So what I've watched over the past, I would say 15 years, is the Scranton community change and move from not just the Scranton residents, but also a Hispanic population, which is dominated most of Southside at this point in time. So where I grew up, all those little mom and pop stores now are mom and pop stores again, but they're selling Spanish goods and stuff. I was like, fascinating, you know? So it's been an interesting process. And when I'll do stories in class. I'm like going, we're going on a field trip, and I go on Google Classroom and I drop ourselves off in Southside, and they're like going, that's my mom's store. I'm like, your mom owns that store? I'm like, yeah. So I was like, I used to go there when I was a kid, but it was a different store. There's something about this area, this town, and I know it's the Polish side of me, which is the work ethic. And that Polish side, I am my father's son. It took me a long time to realize that and to finally acknowledge that, but I'm very much my father's son. And I work too much, but I believe it's a part of me. And the one thing I've always learned about this area and this community, and as much as people talk about it stuff and like, oh yeah, we heard about that before, it's true. The people who work in this town work, and they work hard, and they give their time and their effort and their money and their life to it, to dedicate it to themselves and to their family and to be better. And I think that work ethic has always been a part of us, and I think it will always continue to be a part of us. My hope for the city of Scranton has never really wavered. I mean, I've always believed in us that, as much as we're going to struggle, we're going to succeed. And I think the only thing that bothers me is the fact that we were in, foreclosure or whatever it was for so many years, and how it took us so long to get out of it. And then you have to go back and question, what did we do to get ourselves into that kind of a hole to make sure that it never happens again? And what we've learned is the fact that, if we all come together and we really start realizing the fact that, some of us have to change, and change is not easy. I love teaching the Declaration of Independence because it talks about what we hope to be, okay? And that all men are going to be created equal. And the fact is that we'll never attain that. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, the words inspire you to be awesome and to keep working. But the fact is that we're never going to be perfect. But what I've learned about us as a community and us as a nation is that we've never quit. Now we go backwards. We have moments where we're going to, but we've always come out of it. And we've always found a better way to do things and to strive and to be better. People come here because of the fact that they believe that there is that destiny, that chance of wealth and riches. And it's not wealth as like, I'm going to be a billionaire. The fact of just having a family is your wealth. So you're not wealthy in money, you're wealthy in the fact that you're actually able to provide for your family. You're actually able to have a family and to have a house, which they never could have before. That's what America has always been. It's always been that dream of being, having the things that you never could have wherever you were. And you're coming to America to live out that dream. That dream still exists. It exists in the eyes of the kids who sit in front of me. There's no doubt in my mind that that's the reason their families brought them here. No doubt. And I know that eventually they're going to achieve that. That's what we do. That's what America is. It has always been that way.